Hello everyone, this is Wandering Tati. Today we'll continue learning about the most common cognitive biases. Cognitive biases can make our judgments irrational. We have evolved to use shortcuts in our thinking, which are often useful, but a cognitive bias means that there's a kind of misfiring going on, which causes us to lose objectivity. As I always say, we cannot fall victims to them, so it's always good to recognize them so that we can stop ourselves from making erroneous judgments and bad decisions. The first one for today is belief bias. Here, if a conclusion supports your existing beliefs, then you rationalize anything that supports it. It is hard for us to set aside our existing beliefs to consider the true merits of an argument. So, it is highly possible that our ideas become impervious to criticism and are perpetually reinforced. This bias is our tendency to be influenced by our own knowledge about the world in evaluating conclusions, and thus a conclusion may seem believable but is actually not logically correct. For example, given the syllogisms, premise 1, all flowers have petals. Premise 2, roses have petals. Conclusion, therefore roses are flowers. And premise 1, all fish can swim. Premise 2, tuna are fish. Conclusion, therefore tuna can swim. We may be likely to rely on our prior knowledge and personal beliefs and to accept both conclusions as valid, but the fact of the matter is that only the second one is logically valid. You might have noticed that this bias is closely related to confirmation bias. The two are distinct, however, in that belief bias occurs when a person incorrectly assesses an argument's conclusion, whereas confirmation bias occurs when a person actively seeks out information to confirm what they already believe. Belief bias is a form of response bias that leads people to respond to arguments incorrectly. So how can we combat this bias? Train yourself to ask, does the conclusion really follow the premises regardless of whether I believe it? Slow down your thinking. Belief bias often happens when we rely on quick, intuitive judgments. Take time to carefully analyze the argument step by step instead of going with your gut reaction to it. Next we have the Barnum Effect. Due to this bias, you see personal specifics in vague statements by filling in the gaps. The Barnum Effect, also commonly referred to as the Forer Effect, describes when individuals believe that generic information, which could apply to anyone in the world really, applies specifically to them. Since our minds like to make connections, it's super easy for us to take nebulous statements and find ways to interpret them so that they seem specific and personal. It's the combo of our egos wanting validation and our strong inclination to see patterns and connections everywhere that drive us to find the signal and ignore all the noise whenever someone is telling us a story about ourselves.
Shirla, could you pass that back? Wendy?
For the astrology test, each student was given a detailed horoscope.
Robin, could you pass it over to Robin?
They were told it was drawn up by a professional based on information they had supplied about when and where they were born. Actually, these horoscopes were not quite what they appeared to be.
I'd like you to share something with me, if you'd be so kind, just with a show of...
I asked the students to grade them for accuracy on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the most accurate.
How many gave it a 1? Let's see a show of hands. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so we scored pretty highly with this then. Let's do a little experiment. You've got your horoscopes right in front of you. Take them in your hand like this and hand them over your shoulder to the person behind you. Okay, everybody? And the guy at the end down there, you'll have to come up to the front because these people in the front don't have one now. Okay? Everybody change them around. Everybody's got a... Open up somebody else's horoscope and read it carefully, please. What a surprise.
They had all received the same horoscope. The personality descriptions were generally true of everyone, like recently you have had to recover from a disappointment. Some of them seem specific because they were so personal. Your sexual adjustment has presented some problems for you. And there were others that anyone might hope would be true. You have a great deal of unused capacity.
People like to believe certain things are true. And they like to fall for very specific, absolutely enormously accurate horoscopes, right? Of course they are.
Psychics, astrologers, and other types of mentalists make use of this bias to make it seem like they're telling you something relevant, when they are actually not. Consider how things may be interpreted to be applied to anyone, not just you. The Barnum Effect is named after P.T. Barnum, the famous 19th century American showman, circus owner, and entertainer. Barnum was known for his clever ability to attract and entertain crowds. The effect is called this way because Barnum supposedly said something like, "We got something for everyone," or "There's a sucker born every minute," though historians debate whether he actually said that. By the way, this is the same P.T. Barnum who was portrayed in the movie The Greatest Showman, played by Hugh Jackman. The Barnum Effect is sometimes called the Forer Effect because it's linked to an early and famous experiment by the psychologist Bertram R. Forer in 1948. So how can we combat this bias? Watch out for vague, general statements. Be skeptical of phrases like, "You sometimes feel insecure but are generally confident." "You have a great need for others to like you." These are designed to sound personal but are true for nearly everyone. Look for specific, testable details. Accurate feedback or personality insights usually contain clear, specific examples, measurable or observable facts, and statements that can be proven true or false. Also, be cautious with flattering feedback. We are more likely to believe positive, ego-boosting statements. If it sounds too flattering or feels like it's stroking your ego, then pause and reflect. Next one is the framing effect. Here, you allow yourself to be unduly influenced by context and delivery. We all like to think that we think independently, but the truth is that all of us are, in fact, influenced by delivery, framing, and subtle cues. This is why advertisement is such a big industry after all, despite almost all of us believing that we're not affected by advertising messages. For example, the phrasing of how a question is posed, such as for a proposed law being voted on, has been shown to have a significant effect on the outcome. It is only when we have the intellectual humility to accept the fact that we can all be manipulated that we can hope to limit how much we are actually manipulated. I know this is hard and exhausting because we are constantly being bombarded by information, but let us all try our best to be mindful of how things are being presented to us. So how to fight this effect? When you hear something framed in a positive or negative way, flip the frame in your mind. If it's stated as a gain, 90% survive, also think of the loss frame, 10% die. Ask yourself, what's the other way to describe this? What are the actual probabilities, risks, or outcomes? Would I make the same choice if the information were worded differently? Now we will see the placebo effect. You've probably heard about this one. If you believe you are taking a medicine, it can sometimes work even if it's fake. The placebo effect can work for stuff that are mind influences, such as pain, but not so much for things like viruses or broken bones. Things like the size and color of the pills can have an influence on how strong the effect is and may even result in a real physiological outcome. We can also falsely attribute getting better to an inert substance, simply because our immune system has fought off an infection. That is, we would have recovered in the same amount of time anyway. Things like homeopathy, crystal healing, and many other forms of natural medicine have been tested and so far proven to be no more effective than a placebo. I wasn't so sure about acupuncture. There seem to be some uses of it that are approved by the World Health Organization, and there is even a guide to its correct use. But there are some studies that tried a fake acupuncture, that is, not actually sticking the needle in the person's skin, and it performed as well as the real acupuncture. acupuncture, which might indicate some placebo effect. How can we deal with this effect? We have to be cautious of hype and marketing claims. Products that are heavily marketed as miracle results or instant relief often lead on the placebo effect. What we need to do is check if the product has independent science-based evidence and watch for exaggerated claims or promises that seem too good to be true, because they generally are. And the final one for today, the spotlight effect. Do you, like me, stay awake at 3 a.m. thinking about that time in high school when you acted like a complete idiot in front of the whole class? Do you suspect that your family and friends have a yearly reunion that you are not invited to, in which they discuss your top 10 most embarrassing moments? Where was I going with this? Oh yes, if you are influenced by this bias, you overestimate how much people notice how you look and act.
Follow me, sir. This way, sir.
The truth is that, after all, people are much more concerned about themselves than they are about you, disregarding some prejudices that they might have, which unfortunately does happen. People generally want to just get along with you. It's healthy to remember that although we are the main character in the story of our own life, so is everyone else in theirs. In their stories, we are at best a secondary character and at worst a silly NPC in the background. So how to deal with this? Get a perspective from others. You could ask a friend, "Did you notice when I messed up during that presentation?" You will often hear, "No, I didn't even notice," or "I forgot about it already." Remember how quickly people forget. Even when people do notice, they usually move on quickly and forget about it. Something that feels huge to you is usually a small passing moment to others. And finally, practice self-compassion. Remind yourself that being imperfect or awkward is human and often makes you relatable. A nice recommendation I read about this is that instead of worrying so much about how you are being judged, you should focus instead on how you are making people feel. They will remember this much more, and you will also be contributing to making the world a better place. So that was the last bias I had planned for this video. By being aware of these biases and using strategies like critical thinking and openness to different perspectives, it's possible to reduce their influence in our lives and decision making. How about you? Which of these biases has influenced you the most? I really hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please remember to like, share and subscribe to support the channel. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Until next time!